Right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers live chat. I'm the co-owner, Wendy Hollins, and tonight we have Robin from, is it Haffern Para
Haffern.
Haffern Para Normal. And we also have Bob Sharp, one of our investigators. Welcome, everyone. I'm just waiting to see if we get a few people in before we go any further.
Give me a chance to have a sip of my coffee and warm up after being outside.
Yeah, it's freezing outside. I don't know if it's as cold where you are.
-5 and thick fog.
Yeah, it's about -3 here.
Yeah. Well,
I love the accent.
Yeah. You have to get used to it, I think, for a bit at the moment.
So if you'd all like to introduce yourselves, and then we can get into some of the questions, because I've got so many questions that I'd like to ask you. So
Yeah, no problem.
if you go ahead, Bob.
Hi, yeah, I'm Bob Sharp, investigator, brand new. Keep calling myself a baby of the family. I'm not that much of a baby. I'm 56, but never mind. Got to be new at something. Been into the paranormal, the supernatural, and everything for a long time. More a background of UFOs and stuff than anything else. With being brought up and living in the middle of nowhere until I was about 20, 21, left home. But it's always been an interest, and this has given me the chance, meeting Martin and Wendy, to get into it all and take it a little bit more seriously. Over to you, Robin. I'm pleased to meet you, by the way.
No problem. Yeah, my name is Robin from Haffern Para Normal. I live in Lancashire, although I'm originally from Belfast, as you may guess with the accent.
Yeah.
I'm the owner, lead investigator, whatever, with Haffern Para Normal. We're only a small team, small little family-run team, but it's just something that I had to do. You know, I mean, the success I'm having with some of the stuff, excuse me, some of the stuff that I'm doing is unbelievable.
Yeah, I've noticed, especially with the Celebrity Cemetery series, that's really interesting.
Every single one so far, I can't complain. I said I would try 2 or 3 of them, and I've done 5, and every single one of them, the names have come through. The Cilla Black one in particular, she was actually walking around us, and she actually admitted it on the spirit box.
That is so cool.
Yeah, wow.
So what age did you get into the paranormal, Robin?
Oh, age. It was about 2011 I really started taking it seriously. So that's 11 years ago. So that's about 34 I was. I've seen stuff before that, but I never really I sort of taken it seriously. It had been like, you know, I seen a ghost and I was like, yeah, I've seen one. And that's, I mean, and that's all I was doing really. But it was a certain thing that happened, a certain situation that happened that made me think, with a little bit of pushing from my mother-in-law, to go forward and do it. Like, at the time it was part-time.
Yeah.
But now I'm taking it a lot more seriously. So
that's cool. I mean, it's quite, when it's all new, it's brilliant, because there's so much that you can do and go to places and things. And even now, 30-something years later, I'm still like a kid when I go out on investigations. I can't wait. I'm just going to say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly, Tina, and Nigel.
Hello.
Nando.
Yeah, I think it's
Nando. Brother Nando.
Likewise to everybody. Evening.
So, yeah, it's surprising everybody's start in the paranormal. Some people are brought into it, and it's a bit different for other people. So
I think when you're younger, you're never quite sure, don't you? Well, I suppose I think it probably depends on age, because if you look at like, I'll be a gentleman, I'm not going to ask anybody's age, but being, like I said before, being 56, being at that age, and I was quite lucky, so it was quite an open family, so we would talk about different things, and there was always that sort of chat about things like that, especially things that would happen to my dad and stuff. But for some of the youngsters now, they're all brought up around the TV shows and stuff out there. So, but a long time ago, we've heard it, haven't we? So many chats now, like 10 or 11, stuff happens. Can't talk to the parents because parents either don't want to know or, just too frightened to talk about it.
Yeah, brushed under the carpet.
Yeah. So we said it again. So you broke up there.
I said it gets brushed under the carpet when you're...
Absolutely, yeah. Which is a pity, because you imagine so much stuff that, over the years you could correlate. Because I've said a few times about, like, the UFO industry is the wrong word, has moved on. We could do with something for the paranormal, because, let me pull somewhere off the top of my head, East Drive. So many people go there. The correlation of evidence over the years must be absolutely amazing if you could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you been there, Robin?
I've been East Drive 3 times.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the place.
Yeah. What was your most prominent? What do you think? What sticks out?
Probably the fact that when the first time I went there, I hadn't booked. I was driving. We were going to Skegness for a weekend, and me and my partner and my son were going. And I said to her, because I've been looking at all these things online about East Drive, and I was doing my paranormal at the time anyway. And I said, I want to just drive past the house to just see it, and just maybe take a couple of pictures of it and things like that. Just want to see the house. And we got to it, and I remember we stopped, and I was going to take a picture, and I said to Mrs. Julie, I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to knock Carol's door next door.
Yeah.
And she was like, you can't do that. And I was like, no, I feel I have to. So she's like, no, don't be that. And of course, when someone says to me, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into a haunted location and someone says, oh, don't be getting into that room. I'm first one in.
Yeah.
So I knocked her door, and it must have been her granddaughter or whatever answered. This kid answered the door, and I asked, was she there? And the kid says, no, she was out. So I said, right, fair enough. So I got back into the car, and away we went on to Skegness. And as we were coming back after the weekend, I said to Julie again, I said, look, we want to call East Drive. I want to speak to Carol next door. I said, something's telling me that I need to speak to Carol.
Yeah.
So I stopped at it again. I went and I knocked the door. Carol came out, and I was speaking there about it. Nice lady, and she says to me, or no, I said to her, chancing my arm, I says, I couldn't have a quick look around it, just a walk around. She's like, yeah, okay. She says, I shouldn't really do this, but she says, I've got to go in and shut the windows, because she obviously opens windows in the morning and shuts them in the evening and stuff like that. She says, I've got to go in and shut the windows anyway. So we went in, and we were walking around, and she was telling me a bit about it, and I was obviously saying there about the bits that I knew about it and stuff. Yeah. And we went upstairs, and we went into the bedroom beside the bathroom. Now, I know they moved the rooms around a bit, but the one that has the Beatles poster on the wall.
Yeah.
We went in there, and she was talking to me about how sometimes she goes in the mornings and stuff, and the beds are upturned and this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, this thing whizzed past me here and hit the wall and hit the ground. And I looked, and it was a 1p coin. And I looked at Carol, and I said, Carol, you didn't just throw that, did you? And she went, no. And I says, look, I know you didn't, but I have to ask for my own peace of mind. I said, because it came from in front of me and all there is the wall. And she says, no, this happens all the time. And as we stood there, there was earrings, marbles, coins, and everything coming at me and purposely missing me, but just missing me and hitting the wall. And then she was showing me about the door in the, I think isn't it Emily you call the little girl?
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure she calls her Emily.
Well, yeah, I think it
She was
is.
showing me about the door into her room where you close it and then she opens the door on command. And all that was happening. And obviously I wasn't videoing or nothing like that. I was just walking around talking to her about it because at the time I was quite early in my paranormal journey and being in that house was enough for me. That I was made up that I was even in the house. And we went downstairs and we were sitting in the living room and she was telling me about how the spirits in there don't like her. You know, they don't like her being in there and this, that, and the other. And I looked out the door as we were talking into the hall, and there was in the hall, just outside the door, there was like a black, like a black mass on the ground, and it was swirling around like that. But the more I kept watching it, it was growing at the same time and getting bigger. And she's obviously sitting there going, you know, yeah, they don't like me in here. They don't want me to try and chase me out and stuff. And then all of a sudden, this black mass just shot into the room and disappeared. And all of a sudden, she was rubbing her leg, going, get off my leg. And I was like, I just seen that come in.
Yeah, wow.
And, you know, things like that. Anybody that says to me that East Drive's overhyped or that there's nothing there, well, if you haven't been there, go. And if you have been there and nothing's happened, then you're unlucky. Because I've been 3 times, and 2 times out of the 3, we've got major activity.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So you can, it just goes to show that you can pick an off night. But honestly, it's an experience in itself.
Yeah. Oh, evening, Jay. Evening, Nick. Yeah. Yeah, we discussed it, didn't we, with somebody not so long ago, Wendy, and we were saying about the power of not overhyping, but the power of too many people treading, you know, so much energy in there and so confusing with different people in there because you know, and especially at the moment with everybody's state of mind and everybody's into this, that, and the other, and you know, it's exciting when you go to places like that, but still in the back of your mind, all of that, you know, energy, the worry about payment, bills, and all the rest of it. And it must be some confusing energies. But then, of course, in some cases, that can cause, you know, lapse onto that energy, can't it? I've read about it, seen it so many times and stuff. So,
I'm not a fan of a lot of these places that are being done on a regular basis. Newsham Park Asylum in Liverpool is another one that I've been to, but it's being done 2 or 3 times a week, and to me, it's just being completely rinsed. You know what I mean?
I think
if you treat the spirits like humans, like the once were, you know, someone coming into your house 2 or 3 times a week, every single week, and doing the same things, and sooner or later you're going to get hacked off with it, and you're going to think to yourself, "I'm not doing nothing."
Yeah,
that's it.
And I think that's why a lot of the places have seen a difference in energy recently.
Yeah, I do as well.
Because there's a place that I've been to, I'm not going to say where it is, but the energy changed from being like a good night out to suddenly there was something there that shouldn't have been there. And it hadn't been there in the weeks and months that I'd been doing the place. So I think it depends on the group that you're with as well. And I like how you said there, Robin, about treating spirit as the humans they once were. Because a lot of people forget that. And are rude and abusive. And I really don't get where they're coming from with that, because
No,
it's not right. You wouldn't come into someone's house and start screaming and shouting at them.
No, and I'm also a firm believer as well in a pet hate of mine in this field, and it happens a lot, is the use of the word demon.
Oh, don't
Everything is a demon, and it's like no, it's not. You know, I do get there is demonic forces out there,
Oh yeah, I
and
totally
you can
believe
come
you.
across them from time to time.
Yeah.
But if someone asked me the other week about this on our own podcast that we do, and they asked me about the if they're not demons and they're negative, what are they? And I mean, nobody in this field is an expert. I'm certainly not an expert, and I only give
that.
I only give my opinion on it. But my opinion is,
Yeah.
if you have bad intentions and negative intentions in life,
You're not going to change.
you're going to have them in death.
That's it. We've said before.
Thank
To give
you.
an example, Jeffrey Dahmer, he's not going to be an angel now.
No, he's going to come across. And the other thing as well is, don't take spirit's word for everything, because some of them can lie to you. You know.
Yeah.
It's. I find that it's quite hard when someone's going, "Oh, it's a demon, it's a demon." And I'm going, "No, it's not. It's just someone who's grumpy, who's been grumpy in life, and they're now grumpy in death, and they're wanting to scare you away."
Yeah.
I
think that was some of the premise behind the Enfield haunting and things, wasn't it? That the spirit itself was a grumpy old man as such. But let's face it, for some people, life's not brilliant. And then, I mean, obviously we don't know, none of us really know, but like, if you've not had the best of life and stuff, and then you suddenly discover that you're either, for whatever the reason is, trapped on Earth, or you choose not to go because of other reasons and stuff, then you're not going to be happy. It's not going to change you, is it? So you're not going to come across as that's just the way it is. But I'm not going to go into it again, but you get it all the time, don't you? And it's weird, but somebody I work with just recently said, I can't watch things anymore because they're all demons. Like, they've all had to ramp each other up. And so they're all demons, which has a bit of a knock-on effect, because somebody else I was talking to within the spirit realm and all that kind of stuff said that you've got people who are going to these events and stuff, and they're going, "Well, I hope we see a demon. I hope we get a demon," and it's having a very negative knock-on effect, especially if that's what people want.
Yeah,
I've only ever seen a true demon once or twice in the last 30 years.
Yeah, you'll not. Let me put it this way to you.
Hi, Darren.
If you come across a demon, you will know about it.
Oh, yeah, and you do, because it takes a heck of a long time. Because I was by myself. I wasn't with a team or anything. I was completely by myself.
Yeah.
And it took me quite a while to get it to leave me alone, but I got there in the end.
Yeah.
It's like you watch all these videos on YouTube and stuff, and every title to the people's video is demon this, demon that, and every time they're out investigating, and it's like oh, there's a demon here, and it's like if you're gonna, first of all, if you're gonna come across a demon on every investigation you do, then you're either the unluckiest person on earth.
I would have said unlucky, not lucky.
Well, yeah, but it's like these people, they'll go into a location, they'll be like, we've got a demon coming through, and they'll be sitting there and they'll be like that, and then at the end of the investigation, they'll get into their car and go home, and everything's fine. If you've came across a demon, everything will not be fine at the end of the investigation.
Right, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I've I wasn't taking this field seriously to start with, as in I was taking it serious, but I was going around abandoned buildings and haunted places and stuff, and I wasn't doing any filming. I didn't have my YouTube at the time and stuff like that, and I was just going around and just going around basically and taking some pictures and to see what I could find for myself. And then it was like I say, there was an event happened where I felt I was actually gifted. I became like a sensitive, and I could pick up on things, and I could see certain spirits, and I could communicate with them and stuff like that. And it's like, I thought myself, right, now I've got to start taking this seriously. And then I was doing it for my own enjoyment as much, although I was taking it serious, I was doing it for my own enjoyment as much as anything until about a year and 2 months ago when I met AJ, who's my co-host on the podcast, and everything just changed then.
Yeah.
That sounds like myself with Wendy and Martin, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And suddenly gone boom.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Around me with that, Yeah.
So if you could take only 3 pieces of equipment on an investigation, what would they be?
I would take a phone to take pictures and record on. I would take obviously the phone also as well for necrophonic, because I don't care what anybody says about that app. I know there's apps out there and they're absolute crap. But necrophonic, for me, it has done me so many favors.
Yeah.
And I'm getting my connection with my guides through necrophonic is absolutely amazing now.
Yeah.
And every single time I go somewhere, I only have to ask if they're there, and boom, they're there. So there'd be a phone, there'd be a REM pod, and I don't know, because I take loads of equipment with me and I never use it.
Yeah, I'm the same, because sometimes all you need is you walking around.
Yeah.
And a camera.
Yeah. I suppose a tri-field meter, I suppose, really, because that would tell if there's something there if it starts spiking. So maybe a tri-field meter.
I tell you what I found was quite useful, and it's I think it might be worked the same way. I by chance on my phone put an app on there, and it wasn't anything to do with the paranormal. It was an app that, because of the way your phones work, that if you're looking for a wire, you can just place it against the wall and it'll find the live feed, so it picks up. And we've got it recorded when me and Martin and Wendy went into a woods near here. We were about 100 yards into the woods, and where me and Martin work, very metal, very electronic, loads of wires. It's a care home with lots of stuff in there. I tested it, and it registers maybe 30, 40. We was in the woods getting 90, 110. Makes no sense. We looked around and couldn't find anything that would cause that whatsoever. But at the same time, Martin was getting, a lot of things coming through to him and stuff, and all he was going. But so because if you test something and it works. I mean, I've got one of those gadgets that do afterwards, like the L.S.S camera things, and to a degree, I know it works, because if I point it at a person, I will get an object. So if it comes across, because I'm understanding how they work, if I get sort of like an anomaly on the camera, it doesn't mean to say it's a spirit, I will get something. And of course, I've mentioned it before that a lot of the early S.L.S cameras, they just made a stick figure, which is obviously fake. But now the newer ones, now everybody knows, and I suppose they're a little bit better with the technology, they will sometimes muffle and make a lot of, but that does mean that the camera's spotted something that it just can't figure out, because obviously cameras are not perfect neither. So you get what I mean? I agree with
Yeah.
you. A recorder, brilliant idea. So I think, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one.
But that's quite good, because obviously, hearing that you're a sensitive, do you ever find yourself? Now, I know you've got your guides. I personally have my guide on standby when I'm going somewhere that I know is haunted. Do you do opening and closing prayers and things like that to keep everyone safe, or
Sorry, go ahead.
the opening and closing prayers, do you do them to keep the team safe?
I do one. I do one before I go out usually. I know, obviously, I know where I'm going because I do all the legwork on the team. I do the obviously locations and stuff like this.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, she's the driver, but she's also a skeptic. So there's that, and then our eldest son, sometimes he goes with us as well because he's quite into it. But I would do one normally before we go out, and just obviously ask for protection while we're out, while we're on investigation, and even afterwards when we're finished, kind of still protecting us.
Yeah, I mean, it leads into another question. Have you ever had any kind of spirit follow you home, or even into the car?
No, no, I've never had that. I always tend to ask them to remain there whenever I leave. That obviously they can't follow me home. And one thing for a paranormal investigator always to remember is that we have the power over them.
Yeah.
So they can try. I think a lot of people sometimes don't actually realize that, and when something tries to follow them, they don't tell it not to. They just let it do it, and then they're in all kinds of difficulties. Where I always make sure, right, this is your area. You stay here. You don't follow me home.
Yeah. I must admit, I do like a gate in my head when I'm talking to them, and say, right, this is yours. You stay here. I've closed the gate. You can't come past that.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I like my sleep.
yeah. You've got to put boundaries in place. You know what I mean? You've got to, these people that all go out, gung ho and think, oh, we want to get all this
Yeah.
action on camera and this, that, and the other. You know, a lot of people believe in doing the Ouija boards. I personally don't. I think
No, I'm not a big fan either.
no, I wouldn't touch them. I think if I go somewhere and there's something there, whether I pick up on it or not, if there's something there, I'll work with that. Why should I have to bring something else into the place that's not actually there just to get evidence?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you got
And
nothing.
sadly, and
Yeah.
sadly, that, sorry to put it so bluntly, but that ignorance leaves the place that you've been doing the Ouija board. If you don't know how to use it, you've left something that's open.
Yeah,
You know,
and the thing as well is, a lot of people don't realize with the Ouija boards is you can open it properly, and you can bring something into the atmosphere where you are, the building or whatever it is where you are, and then you can close the board properly. But there's no saying that spirit that you've brought through has went back. So even though you've opened it and closed it, you still have added something else to that atmosphere.
yeah, the energy's kind of stuck there now. So
Yeah,
you're quite, it makes it different. And I mean, I've, as I say, I've been to one place that's done that before, and I've gone in and it's been quite nice, and then going to another area, and it was just like walking into this like thick sludge is all I can make out. And it was like that wasn't there before, and I've been here many a time and doing paranormal investigations, but also on other occasions. And I've never felt like that. And to be honest, it put me off going there for a while because of the energy around. It was, oh.
Yeah, like you say, if you go to a place and I don't know, it doesn't even have to be somewhere with a reputation. If you go to somewhere with the idea that you maybe, so I apart from obviously what we did, Wendy, in the woods, I'd like to be kind of blind because I do worry that you get influenced on what you think you're seeing or hearing sometimes if you've done too much investigating. And then, but then you quite lucky, as I said before with Wendy, the first week we was in this place and Wendy wasn't with us, and Martin said to me, and I don't know if I've said this, Wendy, so I'm about to tell you something you didn't know. Martin said, you wait till Wendy comes and it'll explode. And it did. And it did. It was so much difference and stuff. And I mean, it was, you know, the idea that things that you don't know is sort of like, because we was obviously in the woods and stuff, and then you were obviously,
and I was blind. I'd never been there.
Around us, the difference, the total difference, but we didn't go looking for anything. I know quite a lot about the place that I know that Wendy and Martin didn't know anything about and that, but you know, like because obviously it sounds like you, Robin, you source out all the places you go to. Do you?
I've got a little secret about that one.
I was going to say, you kind of like, you purposely started looking for places that are not famous, that are not really well known, try to be different. You know, I'm trying not to be different, but
well, see, the thing is that, like I say, I look after all the upkeep of the channel. I look after my Facebook. I do the editing. I upload the videos, all that kind of stuff. Because my mother-in-law, she's not really that much up in it where she knows how to do this, that, and the other and stuff. So I tend to do it all myself. But I was in the impression that I didn't want to know a lot about the places I was going to. And I'll just show you this quickly. This is my Google Maps of Britain.
Wow.
All them blue pins is locations.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I said this to you before, didn't I, Wendy? I think on one of the lives, and Martin, so I think he's still there. With one of the lives we did, that I get the feeling that there is, the word places are haunted is wrong, that it's got something to do with us. And I actually do believe to a degree that most people just don't have that effect, but then we'll get maybe like, I wouldn't claim to have any kind of sensitivity, but I think I'm wrong getting just lately. But do you know what I mean? When somebody walks in there who's open to listening, then that's when something that's there, you know, makes itself known, whether it's like, not even just Wendy, obviously, because of or Martin or yourself, but just other people and that, because they're either interested in the spirit or the aura, or, you know, it just simply is because it's the right times. Whereas 50 other people could walk past the place and never see anything. So I do wonder all haunted things. There are obviously some places, I'm not sure. It's just what makes me think. I don't know if anybody else would agree. You know, the things like Flanders Fields or somewhere where stuff does get seen, but you'd think somewhere massively important with so much death that it would be absolutely incredibly easy to capture evidence. And it's not. People go to places like that and don't get it. So it's not that simple. It's not like flicking on and on a switch. So I'm not, like you say, showing that map with all the pins on. That's just that's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's literally thousands of them on there.
Yeah.
And this is the secret part of it, was that.
So don't tell us it was a secret.
Well, it's not necessarily a secret. It's just I
Yeah.
haven't seen a lot of people doing it. So it's something that it's an idea I come up with, and a lot of the time I like going to places. For instance, East Drive.
Yeah.
If someone says, "Oh, well, we're going to East Drive. I wonder what we're going to get," well, you're going to say, Fred the monk. You're going to say the dad who died in the bathroom. You're going to say Emily. You're going to know
Mm.
the people who died and who haunt there. I like going somewhere that I'm not even sure if it's haunted or not, but I'll check
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
and B, that a lot of people haven't actually been there. So I actually paired up with an urban explorer,
Yeah,
Right.
that,
Yeah.
and
that
and we exchange locations. As I can't give his name, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
paired up with him. We trade locations and stuff like that, and any that he gives me that aren't on that map, I'll add them to it.
Mm.
So that's the way I look at it. Because if he's going round a location, he's going round saying, oh, look at all this old decor, look at these features, look at this table. I'm going to take a picture of this. There's a coat hanging up here and stuff. That's all they're doing. He's
Yeah.
not going to be going around going, "Oh, I think I was touched there. Oh, I
Yeah.
wonder whether." And
yeah,
and that's the way I like it, because to
Yeah.
me, I still know as little as I did before I even seen the video he put on.
yeah,
So that's my handy little tip.
Yeah. You
Is
kind
I,
of.
I would pick one person, one
Yeah.
group, one explorer, one group, whatever it is. Pick one and get chatty and get friendly with them,
Yeah.
and see if they'll trade locations with you. Obviously, they won't. If you give them locations, they won't pass them to anybody, and they give them to you. You don't pass them to anybody, and literally just the two of you work together. And it's about para unity. These people aren't paranormals, but they're
Yeah.
still willing to have someone else who's into another part of the field check it out.
I was going to say, actually, you kind of not proved the point, but you helped my point that I made before, because I've watched quite a lot of them on YouTube. There was so many of them, these urban explorers, and not many of them come across odd. You do see it sometimes, especially if you watch. I sometimes sit and watch maybe Nuke or somebody who's quite famous, and he will have an urban explorer on. They've been in 100 places, but then they'll go somewhere where they have an incident. And that's, if there's all these urban explorers, surely, because they're in places that's similar to where we would investigate, but you'll find very, very, very little of them actually come across anything that that's paranormal or anything. So it does make you wonder about, not so much like, do we cause it because we go there, but is it because they're just there for a different reason, and so
yeah,
they know if
I
that
think it
makes
is,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do think I think you're absolutely right in what you're saying. They're going there for photographs or video. They're going there to show off, how the place is decaying,
Yeah.
and this, that, and the other. And fair play to them. I admire a lot of them for it,
Yeah.
because I think some of them come out with really great photographs and
Yeah.
and things like that, and really great videos. But like I say, I just teamed up with this one guy. I'd started following him, and
It's a
he was
great
putting
idea.
all these great locations on, and I just messaged him and just said, "Look, I think your photos are fantastic. I think your videos are fantastic. You do every place you go justice and stuff like this." And I wasn't bigging him up to get him on the side. I was telling him the
Yeah.
truth. The stuff he was doing was fantastic, and I just said to him, "Would you be interested the odd time in trading locations?" And he was like, "Anytime you want, no problem." And we'll get talking and stuff like this. And now he'll put a location on that he's been to, and all I have to do is say to him, "Great photos, mate." And next thing, bing, the pin comes through.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. And it,
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot of people who are going to say to you, "I ain't joining up with you. I ain't pairing up with you. I ain't trading locations and stuff." It's the way it works.
Yeah. It's good
You
that
know,
you found somebody to work with both ways around, because I'm assuming if you find anything interesting, you'd sort of pass it on to them and just say, have you been here? And you know, is it interests you? Because there is so many locations. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these urban explorers, literally, I know in the ones I've watched in America, where they find just old houses in the middle of the woods, and you look at them and you think, good God, how did they ever even end up there? These buildings and stuff. And we have the same here. We absolutely, and quite close to, I know because me and Wendy are not far from each other, but I know places, I know where there's a derelict village and things like that and stuff. And it's shocking when you see these locations and you think to yourself, do you know,
There's that many people that don't
nobody
have a
knows them.
house.
Yeah.
Another thing as well that I will say is Google Maps is the best tool you'll have.
Yeah.
I could
Especially the
spend
street view
hours.
type thing.
Yeah, I could spend hours on Google Maps, and it's literally going through an area and you know, making it bigger, focusing in to see. If I see somewhere where there's no cars parked at it and it looks all overgrown and stuff like this, I'll pin it and I'll go and check it out. And we go to Cornwall 2 or 3 times a year, and every time I go down there, I'll have 2 or 3 places pinned to have a look at, and at least one of them every time is an abandoned house.
Oh,
Wow.
The Google Maps actually itself, I don't know if you know this as a side note, I'd have to find it so I could sort of post it. It's quite a lot of years ago when Google Maps first started, somewhere in London, they obviously did the mapping and they was doing, and somebody discovered they just happened to look at their flat above a post office, collared something, and in the sky above them with these objects through the sky like circular orbs. So Google Maps caught UFOs by the looks of it. And do you know what? When somebody asked them, they got took away, they got complained at, and they put them back. I'd have to find the location. So even Google Maps can be shockingly, good.
Yeah, definitely. I could spend hours at the minute. I don't work. I'm a carer for my partner because she's got breast cancer.
Oh,
So I'm caring for her. So I get every day basically around the house. So I get a lot of time on my phone and stuff like that. And I'll just sit there. She maybe fall asleep, and I'll just sit there, and I'll go through my phone, and I'll be looking at. I'll start off in my area, or if I have a location to do in, say, Liverpool, then I'll think, right, I'll have a little quick juke round the outskirts of Liverpool and see, and then you'll come across 2 or 3 places, and you'll think that's quite overgrown. There's no cars there, and you'll see a little driveway up to it, and it's all overgrown and stuff, and think I'll try. Sometimes you get there and there's someone living in it.
Yeah.
But more times than enough, you'll find places, but it's putting the work in. It's the people who contact you every time. If you haven't teamed up with someone, it's like, oh, where's that place? Where's that place? Well, I've just put 3 hours in the last 2 days on Google Maps. Go and do your work.
Yeah, look yourself.
Yeah. Well, I've got, as Bob knows, I'm not going to say where it is, but I've got a place that we've never investigated, and
I can't believe that.
I know. I think it's because eventually we're going to live there, and that's why. But it's got World War air raid shelters at the camp, and it's tranquil, but for the area, there was a lot happening around that area at the time of the war. So it'll be quite interesting. So maybe you can come along sometime and
absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to do the bunkers in Liverpool. It's no secret because everybody's done them.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, you want to do those, because when you go down into them and you're walking around, there's all these paintings on the wall that soldiers have done in the war, and people who were in them bunkers underground have done all these paintings of people on the wall, and they're still all there. And it's so phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you know the area where, sort of around where me and Wendy's from. It'd be surprising me because we go on about old buildings and this, that, and the other. But across because I'm near Grimsby and I'm near the Humber Bridge, but you go across the bridge and there's a not very well known. There's actually a nuclear bunker that's no longer is disused, and it's a bit of a museum, and they get loads and loads of stuff goes on there. And you think to yourself, a modern nuclear, why on earth would that be? But when you find a little bit about it, you understand why, including a lot of people see a dog and you're thinking, a dog? But yeah, a lot of people at first, when they renovated it and then decided to make it a museum as well as other things, a lot of the builders was in there and saying like, why has somebody brought a dog in here and this, that, and the other? Obviously, it snowballed from there and this, that, and the other and stuff. But it's not very. I'm not mentioning the place, but it's not very. Yeah, it's not very well known, and it's an odd location. Something I never thought of. An ex-nuclear bunker. Strange one. But
it's actually, as you're talking about that, we investigated Fort Paul.
Yeah.
In Hull, past Hull.
Yeah.
And it was quite fun. It was a bit cold being near the water.
Surprising, yeah.
So your celebrity cemetery series.
Yes. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's some things that are easier for, say, my husband to say something, but the Scottish accent, it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so much time in Scotland.
What made you think about that?
I was sitting one night and I was going through my photograph. I always tend to take a lot of photographs when I'm on location as well, because I've caught some phenomenal stuff on photographs.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, carry on.
But I was just sitting one night and I was going through my phone, and I just thought to myself, I went on to my YouTube to see how it was going, because I haven't been on it for a few days and stuff. And I was going through my videos and seeing what the analytics and stuff like that were. And as I was looking down at it, and I thought, right, I've got my investigations, I've got my podcast episodes, and I thought, I need something different on there, because it's like just investigation after investigation after, and it's fair enough. People want to see these things. I get that. People love them, and if you get activity and stuff like that, absolutely fine. But I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I always want to try and go one better than I have been. And I thought to myself, I was sitting thinking, having that thought that everybody has, I'd love to do something out there that nobody else is doing. Now, I mean, there is people doing that, but I've seen people going round and they'll just go around and they'll just show the grave and say, this is where such and such is buried, and then they'll move on. Where I come up with the idea of trying to not contact the person that's there, but have my guides and any spirits that are in the cemetery at a time come through in the spirit box and tell. I won't mention their name when I first go into the cemetery, and I'm asking on the ghost box. I won't mention the name at first, and I just thought that, they should be able to tell me and tell the people who's watching who it is buried there.
Yeah.
So obviously then I thought myself, right, I'm going to try. And then I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to try and be respectful about it, because I did one investigation a few years ago in a cemetery, and I was being respectful, but someone come on and was like, oh, you're showing names on them headstones and you shouldn't be doing it. And it's like, there's 1,000,001 people on YouTube going to cemeteries and do stuff. Why are you picking on mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought I need to be really respectful about it, but I want people to be able to think, wow, there is something there. So I come up with the idea of I'll go to the cemetery, and before I even record, I'll go in, I'll walk around, I'll find the headstone of the person that I'm going to do, so I know where it is, so that I'm not making myself look like a fool and walking around for 3/4 of an hour trying to find it.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and then I'll come away from the headstone. So this is another thing. I've done a couple of them in the car. I've done a couple of them. I've led the phone in the spirit box on the bonnet of the car outside the cemetery, and I've done all that so that I'm right beside it and I'm close to it, or I'm actually in the cemetery but I'm in the car, so that I'm not basically standing right over someone's grave doing it. And
Yeah.
I'll just, because of the connection that I have with my guides and stuff and with spirit, I just thought, well, it can't do any harm to try. I'll do one or two. And the first one I did was Les Dawson, because he's buried just up the road from me.
Yeah.
So I did his, and the name kept coming through, and I was like, this is phenomenal. But then I thought, it can't happen again. So the second one I did was the WWF wrestler, the British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith.
Oh yeah.
He's buried in Wigan. So I went to his, and I did his, and I put the caption on. If you have headphones on, you'll hear it say Davy Boy Smith. If you listen to it just with your phone, you might pick little bits and pieces of it, but
Yeah.
it won't sound that much like it. So I thought to myself, well, that one hasn't worked, until I actually listened to it with headphones and heard it and thought, whoa. So the third one, after that, I thought, well, I'll try one more. And the third one was Joe Longthorne.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And he's buried near me as well. And I went to his, and the box said Joe Longthorne, and I thought, that's a hard name for something like that to say. You can't just, that just doesn't come out of this box.
Yeah.
So it was like, I've got to do this. So the next two, I did it in the same cemetery in Liverpool, Cilla Black and Ken Dodd, and both of them come through as well.
Yeah. Wow.
That is fantastic results.
That is.
So it was something that I tried just on a whim, and it's something that I'm gonna properly go at now.
Yeah, I think that, like you say about being respectful, it's a good idea, and obviously if I've looked at a couple, and you're respectful. It's not like you're doing. I'm not even going to mention his name, because I'm not even going to give the guy the airtime of his name, because I found it quite disgraceful. There's a very famous chap who likes to claim that he talks to people pretty much after they've died straight away. One of the famous things he did was somebody who was supposed to be in the claim is that there was murdered. And, he uses, he explains on his website about how he uses voice, the voice of the person, just chopped up the words and stuff, which just to me, because I know with computers and stuff, is an easy way to manipulate and fake whatever. And it's wrong, and it does make, the thing is, that's wrong, and it surprises me even now to how many people think he's wonderful compared to how many people think it's disgraceful he does it, literally within 24 hours, 48 hours after these famous people dying. But the thing is, like that is why you can understand why you might get somebody occasionally look at what you do, which is coming along and respectful, why they might be a bit anti towards you, because you've got people like that. Again, like we were talking about other stuff earlier, which is not fair on you, because you're being respectful and everything and doing your part to show, as much respect as possible, and then you get, so, kudos to you and carry on, because I think it's
I think that, like I say, the best way for me doing it personally, I've seen people online, and they'll go right up to someone's headstone, and they'll set a REM pod beside it, and they'll have a camera on it. And it's like, if that was one of my relatives, do you think I want you kneeling beside that headstone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like the respectful thing in my eyes is, I'll go to the person's grave, I'll pay my respects to them, Then I'll come away from the grave. I'll do the spirit box.
Mm.
I'll ask for the names of who it is and stuff like that. I'll ask the questions. So far, touch wood, I've got the replies I wanted. And then the only other thing at the end of it I'll do is I'll take the camera over and I'll quickly point the camera at the headstone so
Yeah.
people can see who it is. Because I could turn around and I could say, "Oh yeah, Cilla Black."
Yeah.
And someone will say to me, "Well, how do we know? How do we know? You could be anywhere. You could be standing in the middle of a field."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll take the camera over once I've finished the spirit box and stuff. I'll take it over and I'll just basically, there we are. There's the person there. Thanks for watching, and then on to the next one.
Yeah.
So, I'm really wanting now. There's going to be a few day trips to London coming up because there's a lot of people down there that I want to.
I was about to say to you this, and it's only because I had a sort of I watched a gentleman. I'm not say his name. I'm going to say I contacted him, and it was only by chance because of something in his video. It wasn't bad, but he replied and everything. And it's a guy that goes around. He doesn't do any paranormal investigating. He just literally goes and he just shows where famous people are buried and stuff. And he actually, tries to find somebody and say, "Do you mind? I just want to show respectfully where somebody, where these people are buried." And he's always respectful and stuff. It might be a good contact actually because he's absolutely amazing at finding these, because some of them are so. And I can't. Highgate Cemetery. Yeah,
Highgate, London.
Massively famous for a lot of famous people. Sort of ex-MPs, famous generals. God, there's a lot. But when I messaged him, and it was a long time ago about something, he did actually say, and I asked him about, what it's like to do him, and he did say that occasionally he has odd things happen and stuff, but it's not part of what he does on his channel, so he's never really bothered with it. So, but yeah.
I mean, I get where you're coming from on that because, the ones that I've been to and I've been there, I've done the box, I've done, I get the names through and stuff, and then away I go. But the Cilla Black one, it was phenomenal because before I started recording, myself and mother-in-law got out of the car and we walked over to the headstone. And I don't know if you've seen the picture of it I sent through, but it's quite a big headstone and it's got a bit along where the person's actually lying. It comes right along and it's got the lyrics of one of her songs on it.
Yeah.
And I walked to the end of the grave where the actual headstone was, and my mother-in-law was still at the other end because she was reading it. And I could hear these footsteps in the leaves. And I thought to myself, oh, she's coming up behind me here. And as I turned round, she was still standing in the same place. And she was saying to me, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "I thought it was you." She says, "No, I haven't moved." And she hadn't. And I was like, right. So I had the chance when I was doing that box and I asked, is the person in question, because I hadn't mentioned the name, is the famous person in question here with us? Because there was footsteps around the grave when I went to see it when we arrived. And it said, "Yes, Cilla Black, I'm here."
Oh.
And it's like,
That is just,
it's like, wow, you can't, you can't program boxes and things like that.
No, you can with the. But I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. But them boxes, the ones that do the words for you, you can have a lot of TV programs initially when they use them. They kind of edge their bets because they'd go to a castle and so they'd have 100 words on one of these machines and they would all be based around castles and stuff like that. So that when something come through, and I'm not saying they didn't get some kind of effect, but the problem was any of the words that were picked up were already a little bit like, insider trading or something, because they would go out portcullis or something stupid because the words was already there.
Or something you'd expect to see at a castle.
Exactly. So the one I use is, I forget the name of it now and stuff, but it's got 750 words and they're general, absolutely massively general sort of things. So do you know what I mean? And as when
where
we was at an RAF base, I blame Wendy because it didn't work the week before. We got Jerry about 12 times in 2 minutes. I've got it recorded on video. And I mean, Jerry's the old term for Germans. from the war. So that kind of evidence is wonderful, I think. So I was going to ask you if what your, having seen your pictures and stuff, I'm about to ask you the question, so I suppose you can answer it. What's your go-to? If I walked up to you and goes, "Come on, man, what's your go-to? What's the thing? What's the thing you're at a party? What's the thing that you would say, this is the best thing I ever captured, whether it's voice, picture? What's your...
Probably not probably the picture of the shadow figure. And what I actually didn't get sending through to Martin at the time today, because I was looking for the video clips, was 5 seconds before that there was another photograph taken, and that figure was floating, and it was half manifested. You could see the legs and the feet, and as it went up, it just disappeared. And then the one 5 seconds later, which is the one with the full-on figure with the walking stick, you can see the hand clearly out on a walking stick, and that was coming towards me. And I'd been asking for the spirits that were there, because I had picked up on an old lady. Now, the funny thing is, that's one of the only times in that location. I was at it 3 times, but the time when that happened, my missus actually came with us, because we'd been there about a week before, and we'd had a few things happening, and you could hear footsteps walking up above us and stuff like that. So we'd coaxed her into going along. She wasn't too happy about it, but we coaxed her into going along anyway. And I said to her and her mum, I said, look, there's something here. And I says, I can see it now. It's a woman. It's an old woman. I said, and it's a hotel. In fact, I don't even mind telling you now, because it's been flattened, it's gone. A bit much I'm gutted about, because if I'd had the money, I'd have bought it and kept it the way it was. But it was a place in Bolton, and it was called the Edgerton House Hotel. And it was off the road. You couldn't be seen in it. There was a little lane that went off the road. There was a yellow metal barrier that wasn't locked. So you take the car up the lane, park the car outside it. You're not seen. Nobody knows you're there. You could be there for hours and nobody would know. It was great. And she had said to her mom, bear in mind, they were at the opposite end of this big, massive, it was like a function room, I call it, where they would have had like a dance on. And her and her mum were at the far end. And I didn't know this at the time until they told me. But she had said to her mum, I swear I've just heard the name Elizabeth. And she doesn't get things like this. Well, I'm at the far end of the room where the photograph was taken, and I'm asking for this lady that I can see in my head with this nearly like a ball gown on, and she had a walking stick. And I was basically saying, come towards me, show yourself, let us know that you're here, say something, throw something, please. And Julie and her mum were coming walking towards me, and they were about to say something, and I said, whoa. I said, I can see a letter above this woman's head. And they were like, right, okay. I says, it's only one letter. I don't know why. I says, but I can see the letter E above her head. And the two of them just looked at each other. And I was like, why are you looking at each other like that? And then they told me that they thought they'd heard whisper at the far end of the room that said Elizabeth.
Wow.
That is...
Yeah, wow.
But the one thing I will say is that I do photographs everywhere I go, and I take them on my phone. Now, I don't know what it's like on a normal digital camera, because I don't use them. But if you go to a location and you take photographs, I don't look at my photographs as soon as I go home. You can if you want, and then you can check them again. But I find a few days and go back to them, and there's stuff there. And I've learned this because I used to, before, take photographs, and I'd come home and I'd be studying them for ages, going through them all, see if I could see anything. And there's nothing in them. And I come out of it, and then a couple of days or a week later, I think to myself, I'll have another look through them photographs. Lo and behold, something like that. So I think on a phone, sometimes it maybe takes a little bit longer to develop the picture on your actual imagery and your, in your files where you keep them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether it's something like that where it's still developing for a little bit after you've taken it, or whether it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But those photographs, I had those. A friend of mine said to me, he said, "That's not real." And I was like, "I'm telling you, I've got nothing to lie for."
Mm.
He says, "No, that's
Yeah.
not real."
Because most
And
people ridicule you anyway, don't they? So,
yeah, well, he wasn't ridiculing me. He was trying to. He was one of these ones. He wanted to believe in the paranormal, but he hadn't seen anything that would make him believe.
yeah.
And when something like that comes up, because there's a lot of people out there who are faking stuff,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
like,
There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
he was like, "No, I'm not convinced about this." So he says, "Can you send me the photograph?" And I says, "I can." I said, "But I want to know why." He says, "I've got a lot of technology on my computer because he's a photographer himself. He's an urban explorer."
Yeah.
And he says, "I want to pick that photograph apart." He says, "I can pull it apart and I'll get to the bottom of it." And I was like, "Right, okay, I've got nothing to hide." So I sent him the photograph. And about 3 days later, he sent it back to me. And it was the same figure, but it was full of all these little red dots, like little heat spots. And he sent me one back saying, "You've got me on this one. I just don't know what that is." He says, "I've used everything on this. I've spent a couple of hours on this." He says, "And I've pulled it apart, and this is what I've come up with." He says, "And I just can't tell you
Yeah.
what it is." So I thought, well, fair enough. He's stumped in. And then we had a guest on the podcast one night, and she works in the Rhine Institute in America, and her husband is also runs a photography club. So we were talking to her about stuff, and my co-host was saying about that picture I took, and she says, "Can I see it?" So we put it on the screen, and she was like, "Can you send it to me?" And I again, well, yes, but I want to know why. She says, "Well, in the Rhine Institute," she says, "we deal with this. We deal with photographs and stuff, and we can tell you now, if we look at this, we'll be able to say to you either yes or no, and it'll be proven. As far as we're concerned, you're concerned, it'll either be 100% proof there is something there, or
Yeah.
100% proof there's not." And I says, "Right, okay." So I sent her the photograph, and a couple of weeks went by. I'd heard nothing back, and I was talking to my co-host on the phone, and we were having a laugh. And I said to him, I'm not getting nothing back from this woman." I says, there must be something in it." And I was joking about with him, and it must have been about a month, and I got a text from her, and she said, "We at the Rhine Institute have pulled that photograph apart, and we can't explain what's in it." And she says, "I even sent it to my husband, who's runs a photography club, and they've got all this software." And she says he tried it as well. She says, "And there is just a figure there, and we can't tell you what it is." And
That's
I says, "Well, is it paranormal?" And she went, "Well, I don't like admitting to it sometimes," she says, "but it
Yeah.
certainly looks that way." And I was laughing. I says, You're not going to commit yourself, are you?" And she went, "No." And I says, "But you saying that it looks that way," I says, "is enough for me."
Yeah. I've
that's
got two pictures. I
brilliant.
need somebody to look at two pictures I've got that knows all that. I know
Mm.
a little bit about photography, but at some point I'm going to send them somebody I can trust and go, you tell me. But yeah, but it's
Just
nice.
make sure. The only thing I'll say to you is every picture you take, if you're going to send them and stuff, or you're going to post them online, is watermark them.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with Martin. I've sworn
Because
I don't
they'll
put them on my
disappear.
Facebook or anything. Yeah, because of stuff. Yeah, absolutely agree with you. It's the same with the music at the beginning and some of the music that Martin does on the uses on his reels. I do the music, and you've got to be very careful where this stuff suddenly appears from. And that
Yeah.
you think to yourself, "Oh, I'm just some bloke from near the Humber Bridge who does But you'd be surprised how much, stuff turns up and they think, hang on a minute, there's been a case just recently, with something similar like that. So you have to be really, really careful, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm very, very careful as to who I send stuff to, because even though I have them watermarked, I'm still very careful because, there, unfortunately, it's the way of the world these days. There is people out there who will not do their own thing, who will just steal stuff off everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's never going to stop. There's always going to be someone doing it, claiming that it's theirs.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
definitely.
Yeah. Well, you said that like that from what we call it, Wendy. There. I know you've had that experience just recently. Not pictures, just something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really nice talking to you tonight. Sorry we didn't get to the podcast and everything.
Yeah.
No, you're all right. Just
Have
Just,
another
just tell
night.
we can just tell everybody on it. Just check
Yeah.
out Talking with the Source is the podcast. It's myself and two friends, AJ and Steve-O. They're Coventry Circle Paranormal in Connecticut and My Journey Paranormal in Canada. So it's an international one. We're on it between the three of us. It's a bit awkward with the time difference, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is quite hard when you're doing the time difference because it's like early evening for them, but it's like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
And you.
And
Yeah, lovely to meet
hopefully,
you, Robin.
we can do a little bit more some other time about paraunity and the podcasts. 'Cause
Absolutely.
it's really nice to meet other people that agree that there should be more paraunity in our field.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm very wary. I've had one or two experiences with people that I know or I thought I knew who have made up separate channels and tried to slate me and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But have said things that have let themselves down, and I've known who it is. But I'm very careful who I don't want to say associate with, but I like sort of keeping things in within the paraunity, and not going to just any Tom, Dick, or Harry and saying, "Oh yeah, come and join paraunity." It's like I'll have a good look through their stuff first, and I'll go through their Facebook, and I'll make sure that there's been no bitching going on or nothing like that, no drama and stuff.
Yeah.
Without drama nowadays.
It only takes one person to come in doing that, and before you know it, everybody's at it.
Absolutely. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. But it was definitely lovely to talk to you tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully I'll maybe let you know where this place is so you can come out and investigate with us. See what
Absolutely.
you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you again.
And I'll organize for yourselves and Martin to come on our podcast in the new year.
That would be great.
Right, yeah. Thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah, no problem.
And have a really good Christmas and New Year.
And you.
Yeah.
And
Likewise,
you.
Robin. Lovely to meet
Yep.
you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right.